There's a moment that nobody prepares you for. It comes quietly, usually without announcement, somewhere between the last time you checked their profile and the first time you realized you had not checked in days. You stop wanting to block them, not because you forgave them, not because you are still hoping for something, but because they have simply stopped taking up space in the architecture of your daily thinking. And the fact that you are watching this video means you either just arrived at that moment, or you are trying to understand why it has not arrived yet. The myth about blocking is that it is a power move, that the person who blocks is the one who has moved on, the one who is protecting themselves, the one who cared enough to cut the connection cleanly. Every breakup account on the internet will tell you to block immediately. Therapists will not. And the advice is wrong, not always, but most of the time. Because blocking is not indifference. Blocking is management. It is an active, conscious, effortful decision to prevent yourself from doing something your brain still wants to do. And effort means the feeling is still there. You do not build walls around things that no longer threaten you. Here is what is actually happening neurologically when someone occupies that space in your mind where the block button lives. Your brain has filed this person under what researchers call an unresolved emotional loop. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for closure and completion, cannot finalize its processing of the relationship because the outcome still feels ambiguous. Do they move on? Are they thinking about you? Did you matter? These questions are not sentimental, they are neurological. Your brain is running an open process in the background, the same way a computer runs an application you forgot to close. It is consuming cognitive resources without producing any output. And every time you resist checking, every time you hover over the block button, you are not healing. You are managing an open loop. The moment you stop wanting to block them is the moment that loop closes, not because you decided to close it, but because your prefrontal cortex finally received enough information to finalize its model of the relationship and file it under complete. That filing process does not feel dramatic. Most people expect the end of an attachment to announce itself. They wait for a grand moment of release, a conversation, a realization, a final symbolic act that marks the transition from holding on to letting go. But the neuroscience does not work that way. Attachment does not end in a moment. It ends in an accumulation of unremarkable days in which someone slowly stops being the first thing your brain reaches for. And by the time you notice it has happened, it already happened weeks ago. It does not feel like victory. It feels like nothing. A quiet absence where a presence used to be. And that nothing is not emptiness, that nothing is resolution. There's a clinical concept that explains this precisely. Psychologists call it emotional detachment completion, the point at which the nervous system stops allocating resources to monitoring a relationship that no longer poses a threat or offers a reward. It is the same mechanism that makes you stop thinking about a job you used to have, a city you used to live in, a version of yourself you used to be. The brain does not mourn these things indefinitely. It eventually reallocates. And when it does, the absence of feeling is not coldness, it is efficiency. Your nervous system has simply redirected its resources towards things that are still relevant to your survival and growth. This is the part most people misread. They arrive at the moment of not wanting to block and they panic. They think something is wrong with them. They think the absence of feeling means the relationship never mattered. I'm going to tell you directly that panic is the last reflex of an attachment system that has not yet caught up with what your prefrontal cortex already knows. You're not broken. You're not cold. You're not someone who did not love enough. You're someone whose brain just finished processing something that took everything you had to survive. The people who never stopped wanting to block are not the people who loved more. They are the people whose nervous systems never received the signal that the threat had passed. They are still in protection mode, still building walls, still spending energy managing proximity to something their brain has not yet classified as safe to ignore. And there is nothing wrong with that either. Every nervous system moves at its own pace. But do not confuse the urgency of their blocking with the depth of their feeling. And do not confuse your stillness with indifference. When you stop wanting to block someone, when you stop checking if they watched your story, when you stop hoping they noticed you moved on, your nervous system is not telling you that you did not care. It is telling you that you survived, that the relationship has been fully processed, filed, and released, that you no longer need a wall because the thing that required one no longer exists in the space it used to occupy. If you are watching this and you're still in the blocking phase, still hovering, still checking, still managing, I want you to hear this. That is not weakness. That is your brain doing exactly what it is supposed to do when something mattered. Give it the time it needs. Do not force the stillness before it arrives. Forced indifference is just another wall with a different name. And if you have already arrived at the stillness, if you realized somewhere in the last few days or weeks that you simply do not think about them the way you used to, do not let anyone convince you that means you did not love them enough. It means you loved yourself enough to let the process finish. Why some people feel nothing when a relationship ends, and what that numbness is actually protecting, that is the next frequency. If this one reached you, stay tuned in.